we can go back to the conference now where Eleanor has some guests. Eleanor.
I do indeed, Ellen. And here I have with me is Wiliam Rees, who's the Cardiff Central candidate for 2021 Senate elections, and Cllr Carrie Harper, who is a deputy leader of the Plaid group on Wrexham Council. Welcome both to the programme. So, Will, let's start with you. This big Brexit vote, the policy changes that were agreed to today, how did you vote?
I voted for. I think it's important that when we're going into the election, our message is as crystal clear as it can be. And in a case of a general election, if Brexit can only be resolved through revoking Article 50, I think that is what's necessary. If we think about the consequences of Brexit, if we let that happen, the Welsh economy relies heavily on our membership of the European Union. Over 60% of our exports last year went there. If we just cut that off, it would damage livelihoods of the working families in Wales, and I think that it's right that this is our policy now.
The fear is that has been expressed by a couple of people here is that it would be better to ask the people first before revoking. What do you think about that? Is this ignoring a popularly expressed opinion for people to have their say as a confirmatory vote?
Well, if there isn't a majority in the House of Commons for revoking, but there is a majority for a people's vote, that is what we'd still vote for. We're in favour of putting it back to the people as well, if that is an option. The revoking Article 50 is only going to be happening if that is the only option, the last resort to stop Brexit.
Carrie, in Wrexham, in the last referendum, 2016, it did vote 60%, nearly 60% voted to leave. How comfortable do you feel coming to, in the event of an election, going out and selling this policy to people there?
I think the thing to remember, the vote was in 2016, and over that time, a lot of people have changed their minds. I've had family members who voted leave, who now, knowing what they know, would vote a different way in a second referendum. And I think what we've done today is reaffirm our commitment to a second referendum. We want to put this back to the people. I think that's the way forward.
What about the people in Wrexham? What makes you think that they've changed their minds?
I speak to the people in Wrexham all the time. Like I say, we've had a lot of conversations. We've had street stalls in the town centre where we've asked people to come and explain how they'd vote in a second referendum. And a lot have changed their minds since 2016.
And so, moving on away from Brexit and towards the leader's speech was saying yesterday, well, we had a lot of big pledges about funding for social care, free social care, free childcare, building a new railway. Aren't you, this is going to cost a lot of money, aren't you worried, well, nearer the time we'll find out the costings of how much this will do, and apparently in a grey book, aren't you worried though that there may be some initiatives, some, for example, reallocation of the budgets that you would then be going out and campaigning on that you are not currently aware of at the moment that may sit uneasy when you are going to the doorstep?
I think in 2021 our manifesto, it's obviously going to be fully costed, and the proposal there will be radical and they'll be progressive, and they will be putting forward policy ideas and initiatives that Wales truly needs to transform us as a nation. In terms of how they are funded, there are multiple ways we can fund them. For example, we're getting more taxes now devolved to Wales, and additionally there are things where we will, for example, at the moment the Welsh Government, Labour, gives hundreds of millions of pounds to multinational corporations who take the money, Welsh taxpayers' money, and then they'll set up in Wales for a year or so maybe, and then we've seen multiple examples of when then they're shutting up shop and leaving, hitting Welsh taxpayers in the pocket. And so there is money there that we can be putting forward for these funding.
And Carrie, with this then, do you think this would be, or should be, Plaid policy to be able to take this, and this is where they could get the money from?
Look, I think this conference is all about setting priorities, and for me, hearing Adam Price's speech and that commitment around the Welsh child payment, my ward, half the children in my ward are living in poverty according to the latest figures. So this is a policy that is going to have a dramatic impact on people's lives, lifting 100,000 children out of poverty across Wales. You know, we need these tangible policies that aren't tinkering around the edges, but really get to the crux of the problem. This is going to improve people's quality of life. That's what I heard from Adam yesterday, key policies on climate change as well. So definitely it's the way forward. These are the priorities we need to be discussing with people.
I'm not worried about the costings at the moment, that this could be a surprise further down the line in coming to that you would be able to see in the manifesto.
I think, we've been clear. These policies will be fully costed in the 2021 manifesto. These are about setting out where our priority areas are, and I think that, it's definitely in these are the right priorities. This is the type of thing my community wants to hear. How are you going to eradicate child poverty? Don't just talk about it, do something. We've got practical, concrete policies in terms of how we're going to address these key issues.
Thank you very much there, Councillor Carrie Harper and Will Rees. And back to the studio with Ellen.